Hello, and welcome to the third and final segment of this episode of Aunt Lainey's Kitchen. And I'm going to tell you all about my foodie adventures in the Strawberry Hill District of Kansas City, Kansas. Well, I actually got to go to Slaps Barbecue for the first time. Now, I've had Slaps. I think somebody did a takeout order years ago, and I did try it and it was pretty good, but I've never gone to Slaps. And so the first thing that I want to say as someone as a first timer, one of the smartest things I did because it was we were meeting on for Saturday lunch, and I'd heard people said, listen, they could run out of food early, on a Saturday, it's nice, whatever, they were kind of like, listen, you gotta be smart about it so don't stand in line for a long time. So I ordered ahead of time. And this is with I'm in a meetup group called Kansas City Cork and Fork. And they they go all around the city trying new places, some of the places that are off the beaten path. And I really appreciate that group for that. And it's a great way for me to kind of keep community with people because a lot of times, like I will go out to eat with friends and I'll review things, but a lot of times I try to do it on my own because I don't want to be, taking all these pictures at the table or like really kind of like I want to listen and be engaged. And that's a little more challenging to do when you're doing a food review with somebody like in your head, you're making notes and stuff, and someone is like dining with you. I feel like it's a little rude. People always tell me, no, no, it's fine, it's fine. But I just feel a little a little self-conscious about that. That's just kind of my thing. So, going to a group like that, it's like I can kind of review things and people understand that because, again, they're foodies as well. So we met up there and I ordered ahead of time. So I was able to order the night before. And so I was really glad to do that because that line got really long. And so then I went across the street to Strawberry Hill Brewing Company, which is right across the street from them. And then after that, because I was on my way to go to the Strawberry Hill Museum. And so I'm like, okay, I've got some time before my scheduled tour. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Splitlog Coffee because I've been trying to go there for a while as well. So I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of foodie kind of goals hit, like, on that Saturday. So let's start with slaps. So I ordered a macaroni and cheese, and then I ordered a pulled pork sandwich. So that was like the takeout order that I had. Took the stuff and I went to Strawberry Hill Brewing Company, like I said. And apparently they've got something where it's like they're very welcoming to people from Slaps to come on over there, and they don't serve food there, but they do have, alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks. And so and it's it's pretty spacious in there. And so that's what we did. Now my first impression of Slaps was it's definitely, I'm going to go back to Slaps. It's definitely a neighborhood joint. It is a neighborhood joint and they have patio seating, which if it weren't so hot and we'd already planned to go to the Strawberry Hill Brewing Company, but I could totally see how that would be very pleasant to like, do it at night, something like, in the evening if they still have food left, right? Or like on a 70-degree day or a breezy day, it just would be amazing to be on that rooftop. Because I do love patio dining. And they also have kind of like a place inside, and it feels like you're in a shelter house, but in the best way. It just feels very community and very cozy and all the things with barbecue, because barbecue is it's not a very formal. I know there are formal places, but it's not a very formal food to me. It's like you're having community, we're catching up, or if it's so good, we're just eating in silence, like in a companionable silence, we're eating the barbecue. So I wanted to take, because I do these reviews for my Aunt Lady's Kitchen blog, and I was so hungry and I was so looking forward to it. I ate the macaroni and cheese before I could take a picture of it. I was like, oh man. As soon as like my last bite, I was like, wait a minute, I was supposed to take a picture of that. Whoops. But the macaroni and cheese was actually pretty good. Now, sometimes with barbecue places, they focus on the barbecue. So the sides are a little mid, they're not the best sides, or or they're not bad. It's like it's one of those things where it's either they're super mediocre, or it's okay, I could do it, it's like a step up from mediocre, or they're super good. And in the case of slaps, I can only vouch for the macaroni and cheese, but the fries and everything, the other sides that I saw actually looked really, really good to me. But so the macaroni and cheese had just the right amount of cheese. Like, sometimes with macaroni and cheese, I think that, and this is just my opinion, I'm not a professional chef. Either people they go too crazy with that cheese sauce and it's thick and it's hard to kind of chew just because it's kind of like it's like kind of have noodles and glue, or it's too runny, or they try to do this like foamy thing and it just doesn't work. But in this case, they had the right amount of cheese sauce and that blended well with their tender noodles. The noodles were very tender. You didn't get that macaroni and cheese crunch, and but you also didn't get like where they were soggy, so just right on that. I took that first bite of the pulled pork sandwich and the meat was so tender and it had a smoky flavor, which I appreciate because again, I've had it where the meat is tender, but it's not seasoned well. Or the meat is seasoned well, but it's not ten it's kind of tough. And I'm like, huh, this might have been better in like a barbecue soup or something. This is not, something like that, or where you just really pulverize the meat, like ground it out and then kind of do like a thinner sandwich or put it in a salad or something. But no, they had it just right. And the bread was soft, but it was hard enough to handle the pulled pork. Now, I go back and forth on bread because on some sandwiches, I feel like the bread needs to have a little heft to it, right? But with the pulled pork, they just used a regular bun, y'all. I mean, it was a very regular bun, but it was perfect because it didn't take away from the meat. And it actually displayed the meat because it's like a white bun, like a white bread bun, and it was just like a regular kind of. It was a little bit bigger than most hamburger buns, but it was right and had the softness. It was soft without being soggy because that's another downfall with barbecue sandwiches. Sometimes what happens is that they're so soft that it just tastes like one big. It's like soggy. Or they're too crunchy and you're crunching and it takes you a while to kind of taste the barbecue because you're just trying to make it without breaking a molar on the bread. So they had it, oh my gosh, they had it just right. And I want to tell you the texture of the pulled pork, it was fine. It was a fine pulled pork. Now, sometimes with pulled pork, people they don't chop it right. So then you got big old slabs of meat in it. It's like, wait, I thought this was pulled pork. It looks like you guys just shredded half the pork and we're like, I'll be fine. But they really took the time to make sure that that meat was grinded just right. And on the other hand, again, it wasn't like so finely ground that it was falling out of the sandwich because that can happen sometimes. Now, listen, don't get me wrong, a finely ground kind of pulled pork situation works really good in a tortilla or a pita or something like that, but it doesn't work well as a sandwich. But in the case of slaps, they had everything just right with their things, and it's so nuanced. That's why I really appreciated it. It was like a nuanced kind of experience for me, and it like I said, it's a laid back place. It is kind of a laid back place. It's a neighborhood place. To me, it brings everybody together. I saw people of all different walks of life standing in that line, so that gives me hope for the future, right? They also do sell drinks on hand there as well. But if you're kind of someone who's like, you know what, I'd rather kind of like, do a different kind of experience with the drinks, that brings me into the next one with Strawberry Hill, the brewing place that is across the street from them. And so when we went over there, across the street, at first I was like, oh wait, what are we doing? Because I was looking at the patio kind of thing. But then as it got hotter, I was really glad that we did not sit on the patio because it was getting hot. And so I went and I kept it simple because I ordered my drink because I had never had slaps and I wasn't sure what was going to go well with it. So I ordered like a pink Moscato to, something that I really like. So that way, if the barbecue wasn't like what I wanted it to be, at least I'd be happy with the drink. That's kind of like, what I was kind of like thinking. But like as I said, the pulled pork was delicious, and it worked with the mac and cheese, and it was crisp. It was served at just the right temperature. I appreciate that as well. It had like a nice kind of crisp, kind of coldness to it. I do appreciate that. I know some people like warmer wine because for whatever reason, but I do like a crisp wine, especially on a day that's starting. It's not quite sultry, but it's getting there. And I had hot food. But the one thing I do kind of regret, I feel like I was like, I had some other place to go, so I couldn't linger too long at lunch. But next time that I do go, I want to make sure that I can actually make a day of it and really kind of experience it and not be so rushed. And the Cork and Fork group was so much fun because we talked about our lives and we talked about food and everything. It was really great to be around foodie people. Okay, so then the next place that I went was Split Log Coffee, and that's across the street from Slaps. and the Strawberry Hill Brewery Company. It's across the street. And so initially I thought about, well, let me just go over there real quick because I got there kind of early because I knew the line would get long. And even though I ordered ahead, I wanted to get good parking. So I was able to park right in front because I did go early. And I got out of my car. And generally what I do is if it's a place I haven't been to before, or a place I haven't, like I don't really go to, I want to get out. I want to take pictures of the neighborhood and get the essence. And so, I do take notes when I am when I'm doing these reviews, and I put notes in my head, and then I might have to sometimes I text my sister certain things, and so she knows if she hears something random about food or she sees it, she's like, oh, okay, you must be doing a review and you can't quite open up the notes app, so you're just sending it to me. So I do that sometimes. But so when I do that, and but this time it was kind of like, hmm. I don't want to spoil like my slaps with getting like, a donut and some tea ahead of time. I wanted to keep that palate cleansed. But because I had some time afterwards, I'm like, okay, let's go over there. So I didn't get anything to drink. But I did get because I was kind of like, I'm like, do I want to get like a tea or whatever? I'm like, no, I think I'll just keep it simple. Maybe I'll just do like a quick dessert. So I went over there and I got a sprinkled donut from them. Now I don't know whether or not they make those in house. They might kind of, contract that out. I'm not sure. I couldn't find the information on that, but the donut that I did have was very good. It was a vanilla cake donut with sprinkles. And what I like about cake donuts is that there's firmness to them. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I like, a softer donut, but after I've had like a hearty meal, I think the hard donut, like I was able to kind of cut it. And again, it wasn't hard, but I'm just saying like it had some firmness to it. So I was cutting it into little pieces and then kind of eat it like, and then like eating it it was so good. And it was just it struck just the right note for me. And I loved the vibe of this coffee shop because it kind of had that vibe where people come in to like work on things, like they come in to read, they come in to work on things, they come in just to think, and then it seems like there's like a shift of people that come in. So it's a coffee shop that does a pretty brisk business. They close at 3 o'clock, and they also have a patio, and they have like a drive-through as well there. So I'm like, right on. And so I appreciated that. I did not do the drive-through. I went inside, but there's art in there, and it's the kind of place I would go to if I were now that I know everything I know about slaps and all that. I'm like, okay, I could probably have like a little something here, and then go to slaps. But it's just it's like a neighborhood, again, a neighborhood place where you could work on, schoolwork or work or just sit and dream, like a stare off in space or read a book. It had a really good, clean kind of vibe, and the staff was very friendly. Okay, that is all for my episode today and my adventures in Strawberry Hill. And I kind of, I haven't been to Strawberry Hill in the sense of like, there's a couple places I've gone to, but I'd never eaten down there. And so I'm really excited to find more places and perfect for like a Saturday lunch situation. I know not all places are open on Sundays, but for a Saturday lunch, to me, it's like the perfect place to kind of like wander around, and there's like great art in there. The buildings are beautiful, like a nice kind of small town America feel over there with a little bit of spice, so I really appreciated that as well. And so I'm kind of like planning on that. And something else I'm kind of planning is I was like, kind of going through some of my notes from like last year. I was like, oh man, I haven't looked at this in a year. I was like, man, I need to do a cultivate a date kind of situation where I lay out like a daytime date place. I don't know. I'm brainstorming on that. Don't quote me on that yet. I've got to think that through. But I thought, man, that may be like a kind of a fun thing because I always love to do research. I'll be honest with you. I think I like to do podcasts. I was saying this at one of the parties I was at. I'm like, I like to do my Quaint and Cozy KC podcast and my Aunt Lainey's Kitchen podcast and the blogs and everything because I don't want to be that aunt that is trapping people and making them listen to all my food adventures. So I'm like, I feel like if I podcast about it, or my small town Main Street adventures, but if I podcast about it, then I can get all that out and I'm not trapping people inadvertently in conversations at parties, like in that movie Airplane. So on that note, I will talk to you guys soon. You can find me at auntlaneyskitchen.com. Aunt Laney's on Facebook and Aunt Ladies on Instagram and Aunt Ladies on the TikTok. Okay, take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.